Welcome to another episode of the Overthinkers podcast. And I'm the overthinker, you know what I'm saying? And it's on par course, it's just me just sitting here overthinking. The past few days have been like pretty much isolated. Don't really talk to anybody. Don't socialize. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I was thinking, I was overthinking. I seem to have become an involuntary loner. And let me explain that a bit. It's not like I don't want to be around people. I have to admit that sometimes after a while people get on my nerves, but I guess that's everybody. But mine is sort of amplified, especially they're not really saying anything or they're not contributing to anything that's going on. They're just there, and I have that happen a lot. It happens a lot with women, but that's for another coming up, coming up here. But I've gotten to the age where you think I'd find people that are like-minded that I would like to be around all the time, but no. I have a really good friend, but he doesn't live close to here. He lives like 8 hours away. So the place where I live, I've lived there. I've lived here long before he came to go to college here. So I lived here for like 20 years before he came to college here. Maybe 12, so. And where I live, I just never really clicked with the people here. I'm not saying that there wasn't people that I used to hang around all the time, but I just never really clicked with them. There's just something about this place that people want to be around me. Sometimes too much, more on that later. But just don't click, and I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to blame it on difference in culture. I'm not, because I've been places where culture is different, but I've clicked with the people. I just don't click with people here. There just seems to be a fundamental difference in what humanity is or supposed to be here. Mine is based on strictly human beings, and theirs are based on ideologies and religion and all that stuff. You know what I mean? They believe in morality. I don't. I think the morality is a man-made concept to control people. I think a lot of those labels and concepts that come up is taking away the humanity in somebody, because if somebody do something inhumane, oh, he's not moral. No, he's inhumane. Morality is just a label, because what might be moral for one culture might be immoral for another culture. So morality is objective or maybe subjective, one or the other. It all depends on where you're from, what your belief system is, and all of that. That's what morality is. But humanity is universal. If you know as a human being you're not supposed to be doing something to somebody, you just don't do it, regardless of where they're from, what their culture is, what color skin they have. If you know that it's inhumane to do something like anything to somebody, that's humanity. It's not morality. Morality is one of the oldest buzzwords ever, in order to draw people into believing a certain way. That's my take on morality. You may have it wrong and stuff like that. Like, for instance, I don't run around and sleep with a bunch of women. And people say, no, that's because you have morals. No, it ain't got nothing to do with morals. I don't do it because I know it may not hurt everybody, but it's going to hurt the majority of people if I do that to them. If I just go take what I want and walk away. Because contrary to belief, people they get feelings, you know what I mean? And people use those feelings to get what they want. And I don't do that. That's a human instinct not to do that to somebody. That's not no morality. You know, what's making me a better person is not being moral, is being human. And I think that's the disconnect with me and the people where I am. Because they don't see anything as human. They see everything as societal and this, and that's why so many people are going down the wrong path in a lot of things in relationship and stuff, because they look at it from a societal perspective and not from a human perspective. And maybe that might not make sense to you, but it makes perfect sense to me. That's why I could treat everybody equally, you know? I don't judge people by the cultural experience, because that's learned experience there. You can't learn to be a human, you just are human. Anything else you do that, you know, like love is human. Hate is sometimes human, but hate comes from an external thing happening to you to create that situation. Nobody don't just go look at me, I hate him, you know what I mean? And he didn't do anything to you. But you could love somebody even though they don't do anything to you, even if they're just there. You could love them anyway. But and I think that's I don't think people get that about me, because I think they think that I'm such a nice person and I'm this and I'm that and I'm the other. And a lot of people misinterpret how I look at things. Like I don't do certain things not because it doesn't hurt. Okay, I don't do certain things that because it's not going to hurt the person. It's because I feel it's not the human thing to do. So it have more to do with me and how I look at the situation than they themselves. You know what I mean? Because in my mind, they're human. So it's the natural thing not to do something to hurt them. It's a natural thing to do something to make them feel better. It's a natural thing to not give up on people. You know, can you imagine if we live in a world where everybody was thinking like that? Instead of thinking it's the good Christian thing to do, it's a good Muslim thing to do, it's a good Buddhist thing to do, or it's the good uh, uh, British thing to do, or the good Irish thing to do. No, it's the good human things to do. We keep separating each other. You know what I'm saying? And I don't separate people like that. I just see humans when I see people. Period. And I know a lot of people don't believe that when I see that, but that's the way I live. And I think that's what's creating the self isolation, because then when I'm out there, people don't break down themselves to bear humanity. They don't. They come in with all that baggage. And listen, I have got baggage too. I'm not perfect. By no means am I perfect. Yeah, I'm still working on myself, and I've been decades on this earth. But I strive really hard to see things from a human perspective. Really hard. And not very many people do. Very few people talk about being human anymore. They talk about being everything else but human. And the self isolation sucks so bad, you know what I mean? Because I like people, I like being around people, but they get on my nerves. And pretty much that's everybody. And quite frankly, I think that's one reason why my marriage didn't work. We didn't see that human factor. And don't get me wrong, and I know people are going to say, well, you know, you was raised differently. No, I wasn't. I was raised in the Catholic Church. I was raised strict Catholic. I was raised in a colonial type of a setting, you know what I mean? I'm from a British colony, you know, where, you know, you have to look a certain way and act a certain way and for society to accept you. And I didn't care about stuff like that. I don't care if I dress and look nice that they accept me for that. You don't know me. So why would you look at the way I dress or the way I carry myself or the way I look and go with that instead of getting to know me? And even when they do get to know, they still assume something because society tells them this is the way I am. Instead of learning the ins and outs. And another thing I think that's causing the self isolation is the disconnected connection. Like nobody gets connected. It's all surface, man. Oh my God, that stuff is so bloody annoying with all that surface crap. You know what I mean? I don't want to say that social media has created that, but to a certain extent it does, because most people now just communicate through. I've seen people sitting next to each other, texting each other. There's no human connection going on. None. And I spend a lot of time in front of the computer, but that's because I have my YouTube channel and I have online stores and stuff like that that I work with. So I spend a lot of time on there for that reason, but I don't go into people's DMs and talk to them. I don't react on their posts. And I'll tell you why I don't. Because online is not really them. They will put out a certain persona online and you know it's not them because you're around them all the time. That happens. I see that everybody does it. They know that's not them, but they're on the line putting out that persona. So I don't pay much attention to stuff like that. But there's just no human connection going on anymore, you know? And if there is, another thing that's kind of pushed me away too, even if they get close to you, there's still that distance they keep in. And guys, I haven't found that so much with guys. I don't have that many guy friends actually. And of course, you're gonna just wait. Women, on the other hand, that's a whole different story right there. When I first got divorced, it was cool, you know, man, because I wasn't about to look for nothing. So, I had a lot of female friends. But the pattern I've noticed, like when you're not really care about anything else, oh boy, they cling. I have this personality where they cling. We're not dating. We're not sleeping together. There is nothing going on. Not because, a lot of times because I don't want to. And I know that sounds strange coming from a man, it's like, I should be out there wanting to. I just don't want it. That just complicates everything, you know what I mean? But I have this personality where women like being around me. So many times I've had to say, listen here, we're not dating, we're not sleeping together. It's 3 a.m. Why are you here? You're just here. Give a brother some space. It's like we're married or something. You know what I mean? They get jealous whenever I talk to anybody else. And I know that happens to a lot of other people, but my stuff is on steroids because it's not just like one of them. It's like a host of them at one time. And it's not an age group thing because it's from 20 to 75. But for some reason, I have this personality that just draws women to me. I don't know if it's because I don't try to bed down every one of them so they feel safe. I don't know if they're coming in to think they could manipulate me because a lot have tried that. I don't know if it's because I set boundaries and I say, no, we're not going there. It's not going to happen. That's different. So then they cling into that type of energy. I don't know what it is. And it doesn't matter whether they're married, have boyfriends or not. So many times I've had like, okay, and here's what it all boils down to, man. Having to deal with that so much. And this is probably, I don't know if it's a flaw of mine or what. I do not. There we go. And I do not trust women. And it's not like I have trust issues. I really don't. If you give me the opportunity to trust you, I will trust you. And I know everybody will say, well, that's the way it should be, but that's not the way it is, though. Especially when you have those disconnected connections. Nobody gets to know anybody enough to trust them. And trust me, I've tried to get to know people, and then they act stupid. And that's real talk right there. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, a lot of people, some people say you have trust issues. I don't. If you give me reason to trust you, I'm gonna trust you wholeheartedly. Have I gotten burned when I trust people? Oh yeah. Because I'll be honest with you, before I got married, I was the most trustworthy person there ever was. I trusted like crazy. Which is odd coming from a place where we had revolutions and we had like a mini war or an invasion, whatever you want to call it. So if anybody had reason not to trust anybody, but I trusted. And I learned the hard way, you just don't blindly trust anybody. Because people pretend to be stuff that they're not. And people say stuff and all of that, and the actions say otherwise. And everything has got to be so negative about everything. Oh my God, you know. And I know I'm sounding negative now, but I'm just relaying to you the atmosphere in which I am surviving. I want to get to a place where I could trust people again. You know what I'm saying? Especially women, because I used to trust women a lot. I just don't anymore. I always have to have my guard up. And I hate that. I hate to have my guard up all the time. And it's not like I'm around women that are like that. I seem to attract women that are like that. And most of them I'm not even trying to date them. You catch them in so many lies, man. So many lies. And I don't know. A lot of them, because of the way I am, they want me to think that they're such not so much perfect, but such well put together people, and they're not. They're doing all that crazy stuff there, you know what I mean? And like I said, I don't have that problem with dudes. I don't. Yep, I've had dudes cling to me before, but once they get the hint, they're gone. Women hang on. They don't want to let go. I mean, I've had to go, and yeah, like I said, nothing is going on. I had to go. You gotta go, man. You gotta get out of here. I mean, you can't just be here all the bloody time, just here. You know how many times I've had to say that to the women? You gotta go. You're just here. What purpose are you serving here? You have no reason to be here. You're just here. And it got to the point where a lot of the times we're not even talking. Hours would go by. Sometimes the television isn't on and we're just sitting there. But they're there. And you know you think I might be fibbing and stuff. I remember I was on Facebook and I said something and this older lady, and a real Christian lady said, "Yeah, the women loved you," and I was like, "Why?" I don't ever give them any reason to be around me. I mean, I'm friendly, I'm smiling all the time, I actually care about stuff. But from my observation and experience with them, they really don't like people like me. Well, they wouldn't marry people like me. They wouldn't date people like me. So why the hell are you around me all the bloody time? And mind you, I don't have a problem with them not wanting to do that. Don't get me wrong. I've bit the bullet. I don't like drama. But the question is, why are you around me all the time? It's quite annoying sometimes. And even though I hate the involuntary lonership, I just don't want to deal with the drama and the negativity and having to watch my back all the time. And I mean, sometimes I have to watch my back because, you know, it could get real hairy. I had this one friend. She called herself my friend. And she's always like stating friend. And I'm always like, hey, nobody ever said anything different. You're not my type. So, and you have to know that I've known you for 20 years. I've never asked you out. I've never tried to hit on you. I've never said anything flirtatious to you. Nothing. But every time, when you're just my good friend, I'll tell you a story about this person here. I was at work. She came in work. And she was standing there talking to me. She called me her Jamaican friend, but she knows I'm not Jamaican. She's standing there talking to me. The first question I ask is, where's your boyfriend? Oh, he's in the car. He done made me mad. He done pissed me off and stuff. I left him there and he said, oh, you're going to go talk to the Jamaican guy? And she said, yeah, I'm going to go talk to the real one. Put me smack dab in the middle of the fight because I used to see them in the parking lot of the grocery store working, like going at it, not fists, but yelling and screaming and storming off and stuff. Now, why would you tell this dude that you're going to talk to a real one, but you wouldn't date the real one? Not that, yeah, like I said, not only, I mean, she's so not my type. She's just there. She's just there, man. There's a lot of them like that. They're just there. They're not, they don't support in anything you do. They never check up on you. You have to initiate the contact every time. Because if you're sick, and I know you're sick, I'll check up on you to make sure you're sick because it's the human thing to do. I don't want nothing for it. However, we do live in a community. And if you don't hear from me for a while, and I check up on you when I don't hear from you in a while, check up on a brother. This whole thing about giving without receiving, man, not when it comes to stuff like that. Not when it comes to stuff like that. Not when it comes to stuff like that. If somebody's giving you emotional support and all of that stuff, give them the same thing back. Now, if I give you some money, I don't expect it back. If I give you some food, I don't expect it back. If I help you move, I don't expect you to come help me move when I'm moving. That's all physical and material stuff. Emotional stuff, human beings need that stuff, and nobody gives anybody that. If they find out that you're a nice person, I'll give you an example. I have this friend. I was outside the job one time talking to her. A bad boy walked by that works in there, cheats on his girl, blah, blah, blah. He walks home. He didn't have a car. I ride the bus, didn't have a car. She was all concerned that he would walk home, but not once did she say the person who she talks to and she confides in. Not once did she ever say, hey, I'll take you home. Not once. But this dude that barely know walked by. And she's like, I worry about him. Why is he walking home? The dude is a basketball player. He's like 6'7", 270 pounds. What are you worrying about? Oh, he's a bad boy. Now, the nice guy, I ain't gonna worry about him. Or he could go out there and get shot walking home. I don't care. And I tell you that story just to tell you that that's another reason why the involuntary loanership. Because I got to look out for myself. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody out there, you know what I mean? And I know they're like that with a lot of people, but they're not like that with a lot of the wrong people for some reason. For some reason. I don't know what it is. And I'm not just saying that. I have a lot of friends who are good guys that have the same issue. They never check up on them. They never ask them. I had a friend who worked with a team of 20 girls. Good guy. Would help them out, would do anything for them. Dude got sick. Missed a road trip with them for the first time in like 10 years. Not one of them called to find out if he was okay. Oh, one of them did call to ask how to work the stuff that they didn't know how to work because he wasn't there. But yet still, oh, I'm gonna miss you when I leave. If you're good to people, boy, they don't give a rat's butt about you. And I don't know if they do that to women too, but I know for a fact they do that to guys. If a guy is good to them, and you go on the internet and you see all these guys and saying that stuff, you can't be nice to women, blah 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 blah. And in this world today, it's not the world, it's where we are. Because I mean, I've done traveling and I ain't run into women like this nowhere. Other places I've been, women came to me because I was a good person, and they actually wanted relationship. They actually wanted something more, and I had to say, no, no, I'm kind of cool the way I am. And that was when I actually trusted women. You know what I mean? They actually came to me and wanted something more than just that friendship thing, that shoulder to cry on and stuff like that. I had to pick them off with a broom. But then I landed in this culture and it's a whole different thing, you know what I mean? It's like that arm's length, disconnected type of vibe that's going on. You know what I mean? Guys don't do that. If a guy is your buddy, he's your buddy. You know what I mean? They'll be talking, they'll be hanging, they'll be doing stuff. Women say we're besties, but they don't hang with you, they don't talk to you, they don't call you, they don't care what the bumble clot is going on with you. Excuse my cursing. So yeah, self-ownership, and it sucks royally. It royally sucks. Luckily, I'm not the type to get depressed. But being like this morning, I wanted to say something, and this is what I said, because I said, you ever been in a situation where you have a lot to talk about, then you turn around and there's nobody to talk about it with, but then you realize even if somebody is there to talk about it, it don't mean nothing because ain't nothing gonna change. That's called a rock and a hard place. Now I know if I was in a different place or culture where people are taught to listen instead of, while you're talking, thinking about what they have to say about themselves. Another one of my curses or flaws is that I listen to people and I don't judge them, which I have stopped doing, because from here, but I judge people now, and I never, at first I would judge them and I wouldn't say anything, but now it's like, hey, come on now, you can't be doing that to people. What the hell is up with that? That's just wrong. You can't just disrespect people like that. And they still stick around, and I don't know why, because I'm pretty blunt about it. I'm not, I'm not mean, but I'm, hey, no, that's just wrong there, and yeah, I'm judging you. I didn't used to do that before. I just shrug my shoulder. Oh, well, it is what it is. But self-isolation has got me to the point where it's like, no, 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 no. I'm not going to put up with that. I don't want that crap around me. That just sucks all the positive energy out of the vibe. And I'm saying all of this here, in actuality, not for sympathy, not for, oh man, it's going to be, I don't need no pep talk. I'm okay. I'm just saying this so that somebody who's having a hard time in the same situation know that they're not alone in that situation. There's other people going through the same thing too, you know what I mean? Because sometimes when you're in that situation, you could feel real alone. You could feel really isolated. Even if you have people around and that situation is floating around in your head, you could be a loner in your head, a loner in a room full of people. They don't know what's going on with you because nobody really wants to get to know each other, like I keep saying. So they don't know. You know how many people say, hey, that's Andy, man, I know him. And I was like, no, you don't. You don't know what's going on in my head. You have never asked me what's going on in my head. Unlike me, if I meet somebody, I ask them questions. Hey, what's going on with you? You know, blah, blah, blah. I actually get to know that person and what's going on with them. I don't have people around me that I don't understand to a certain degree, at least 50%. Those I'm closest to, 100%. But if I'm around you, I'm going to know as much about you as I can. But because I ask prying questions, not because I'm nosy, not because I want to know your secrets, but because I want to know who the hell I'm being around. And the only way I'm going to know is if I ask questions. If I see how you interact with other people, people don't do that stuff anymore. They just have an image in their head and they just run with it. And then later they go, well, I didn't expect this to happen. I didn't know he was like that, because you didn't want to know. You have a bunch of people the grocery store walk-in was the worst for that. You got all these people running around. They all talk trash about each other. They all really don't know what's going on with each other and what the situation is that caused them to be the way they are. Because a lot of the people that were like not nice to everybody were nice to me, because then I figured out who they are and I treat them accordingly. So then they turn out, they'd be like, okay, I'll just say straight up, they'd talk about a woman, oh, she's a B word. I was like, she's not a B word to me. Oh, she's mean. Because I ask questions. How is your family? Hey, what does your husband do? Oh, your son is in school. What's his favorite subject? Have you ever been there? Have you ever done that? Wouldn't you like to do this? And the more they talk is the more you learn about them. The more, because, people aren't going, when you ask people questions like that, they aren't going to just make stuff up. They're going to tell you what the vibe is. And that's how you get to know somebody. But nobody does that. They're too busy thinking of how they are instead of paying attention to who they have around them. So then we have all these mismatched people running around with all the drama and stuff, and then they draw everybody into it, or they try to. I get people trying to draw me into so much drama is not even funny. So, self-loanership, self-induced. It's the only way I've found any kind of peace. And I'm going to break out in that when I start traveling again. Because I love people. I love being around people. I like talking to people. I like getting to know people. I like helping people. I like that give and take when real people are around. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? Looking out for each other. That does not happen anymore. All they do is after something goes wrong, oh my God, you know what happened? That's so sad. Prayers going up. But the whole time that person was there, he wasn't paying attention, now were you? But now all of a sudden, because it's the moral thing to do, there you are, showing some sympathy. And like I said, the last place I worked, it was like that. It was so like that. It was so like that. I've seen people in there be real crazy friends with people. And that person got sick. And they were irritated at that person. And then that person passed on, and it was like they was never there. That is so sad, because these people were so close to these people. So close to them. They're all over Facebook liking each other's pages, bro. And they're so quick to just like cut people off. It's like, bam, you're gone. And that's another reason why the self-induced loner vibe. Because, you smile the wrong way, they're going to cut you off anyway. Or if you don't try to reach out to them, they're never going to reach out to you. So what's the point? And it's like everybody there is like that. And I'm saying everybody there is like that. Everybody. I haven't made one lifelong friend from anywhere that I work with anybody. You would think after like 40 years of working here and there with people, I would have like one close friend that come out of that. Not one. My buddy Scott, I met him at Marshall, the university. But apart from that, you spend like 20 years working in a place with some people and not one close friend. Oh, they're all on Facebook. But sometimes isolating yourself is the best for your mental health. With that comes a whole another bunch of issues, but that's stuff you have to work on in your head. And that's stuff that nobody else is affecting, you know? But if you're feeling that vibe, I'm with you. I get it. I understand. It's not as bad as it seems. Just take the time to work on you. And I know that sounds cliche. And when I say work on you, and whenever anybody say I'm going to work on myself, they mean they're fixing their hair, they're going to the gym, and the mental ain't getting worked on at all. The psychological isn't getting worked on at all. The soul isn't getting worked on at all. It's all aesthetics. You know, you go off into isolation, you come back, you have on nice clothes, you're all buffed, or you go to the gym, blah, 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 blah. And that to them is elevating themselves. And nobody's elevating themselves spiritually, mentally, or psychologically. And then they go back out into the world. Yeah, I'm a new man. And then they end up doing the same things, hanging out with the same people, and then wonder why they're having an adverse time at reasserting themselves back into society. Because you didn't change. You changed the way you look. But you didn't change the way you think or the way you feel. And I think a lot of people don't do that because they're scared to figure out that, hey, you know, there's something wrong with me here. You know, first thing I did when I got divorced was to figure out myself, you know, okay, you know, what's wrong with me? I don't care what she does. She got to figure out her stuff. But I got to figure out me. Unfortunately, sometimes when you figure out yourself, you realize you really don't want to deal with nobody. But such is life. You understand what I'm saying? But that's what you do. You work on that soul. You work on that humanity. I'm not saying don't go to the gym and don't exercise and don't like get new clothes and stuff like that. But the main thing that you should work on is that soul. That's going to free you up, man. And you'll be surprised when you isolate yourself how much you learn about yourself and how much you realize that needs to be fixed. And sometimes when you come back out, you're going to still run into those people. You still are, but you're going to be better equipped to handle them. So just be human. Just be human. That's all I could say for that. Tune in next time for another episode of the Overthinkers podcast.